Jazz is a broad and complex genre, so it may be difficult for those who are first getting into jazz to know where to start. There are lots of different subgenres and lots of different concepts, such that jazz can often sound like a foreign language. But jazz doesn't need to be complex. You can actually get by with a minimum amount of theory and practice. And so in this video, we will cover the minimum theoretical knowledge you need, and in the next video, we will cover the minimum practical techniques and skills you need to be able to play something resembling jazz. So on the theoretical side, there are just a few things you need to rote learn and memorize. These are the intervals of the major scale, all the chords in a major key, and the construction of the most commonly used chord types. Now, while there is some underlying logic to why these things are as they are, you don't need to know it. You literally just need to memorize these three things by heart, and you'll be able to start understanding and playing jazz. So firstly, a scale is just a collection of notes played sequentially and moving up in steps. The most widely used scale in Western music is the major scale. The intervals of the major scale are whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, where naturally a whole step is 2 half steps. Now memorize this. This can easily be seen with the C major scale on the piano, using all the white notes. Once you know this pattern, you can play every single major scale that exists. To practice it, simply pick a random note on the piano and play the major scale from that note. For example, let's pick the note A flat and count up whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So here, we just played the A flat major scale. Next, a chord is just a collection of notes played simultaneously and moving up in skips. So now let's take each note of the C major scale and build a chord up from it, skipping one note each time until we have 4 notes. And because we want the chords to be in the key of C major, we can only use the notes from the C major scale. So starting from the note C, we can build up a chord that has the notes C, E, G, and B. This is a C major 7 chord. We could do the same starting from the note D and get D, F, A, and C. This is a D minor 7 chord. Doing this for all 7 notes in the scale, we can create 7 different chords. These are C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, A minor 7, and B minor 7 flat 5. These are all the chords in the key of C major. And because every single major scale is constructed with the same intervals, all the chords derived from a major scale will always be the same, except for the root notes. So for example, let's play the F major scale using our intervals, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. All the chords in the key of F major are F major 7, G minor 7, A minor 7, B flat major 7, C dominant 7, D minor 7, and E minor 7 flat 5. And this is the second thing you need to memorize. All the chords in a major key. Again, these are major 7, minor 7, minor 7, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5. The only thing that differs are the root notes, which just follow the notes of that particular major scale. Now let's take all the notes of the major scale and the chords we created from them and number them 1 through 7. And we will refer to the chords in terms of their allocated number. So when someone says, play me a 2-5-1 in C, they mean play me a 2 chord, followed by a 5 chord, then followed by a 1 chord, all in the key of C major. This would be D minor 7, G7, C major 7. And if someone said, play me a 4-5-1 in F, This would be B flat major 7, C7, and F major 7. Now, there are two ways to think about chords. The first way is to think of them as part of a key, which is what we just did. So if I ask you to play a D minor 7, you know that it's the 2 chord in the key of C major, and therefore only uses white notes on the piano. Now, the second way is to think about each chord as a standalone entity. And this brings us to the final thing you need to memorize: the construction of the most commonly used chord types. Now, the most important thing to memorize is the construction of the major 7 chord, which is 4 plus 3 plus 4. That is 4 half steps plus 3 half steps plus 4 half steps. Knowing this formula means you can play any major 7 chord from any note. For example, let's take the note E flat. Then we go up 4 half steps, then another 3 half steps, and another 4 half steps, and we have the chord E flat major 7. And this is why the first and the fourth chord in a major key are major 7 chords. They are constructed with 4 plus 3 plus 4 half steps. So that would be C major 7 and F major 7 in the key of C. And each of the 4 main chord types have such a formula that you can memorize. But what I find easier is to only memorize the major 7 chord formula, and then change the major 7 chord to get the other chords. Specifically, a dominant 7 chord has a flat 7 compared to a major 7 chord. A minor 7 has a flat 7 and a flat 3 compared to a major 7 chord. And a minor 7 flat 5, as you may expect, has a flat 7, flat 3, and flat 5 compared to the major 7 chord. So instead of memorizing that dominant 7 chord as 4 plus 3 plus 3 half steps, just build a major 7 chord and flatten your 7th. The same goes for the minor 7 and minor 7 flat 5 chords. And again, this is why the 2, 3, and 6 chords in a major key are minor 7 chords, because they are constructed with 3 plus 4 plus 3 half steps. And this is why the 5 chord is a dominant chord, because it's 4 plus 3 plus 3. And the 7 chord is a minor 7 flat 5, because it's 3 plus 3 plus 4. And that's it. If you memorize those 3 things, you'll have the minimum amount of knowledge you need to play jazz. And you don't need to worry about modes or quartal voicings or side slipping or any of the more complex stuff, at least to begin with. Knowing these 3 things, major scale intervals, chords in a major key, and the construction of the main chord types, is enough to begin with. So now, with this knowledge, if you're able to read a little bit of sheet music, you're able to pick up any lead sheet, figure out the melody, figure out the chords from the chord symbols, and have a rough guess at what key that particular song is in. And therefore, what scale, what major scale, you can use to improvise over that chord progression. So if you see the chords D minor 7 to G7 to C major 7, you can figure out that those 3 chords are all from the key of C major. And therefore, you can use the C major scale to improvise over those 3 chords. Cool, so in the next lesson, we will apply this knowledge to an actual jazz song, and I'll give you some practical techniques and concepts and skills that you should develop in order to play it as if it were an actual jazz song.